Good morning, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this 215th weekly webinar series organized by AABN, and to know that we have your support, it gives us a comfort feeling. It made me proud to be a convener and even more hopeful about the future of AABN. As we move forward to ensure the future of AABN, we will continue to invest in the vast potential and collaboration among individuals of varying backgrounds, perspectives, and expertise. I thank you all for keeping a place for AABN in your lives and for your ongoing support. At the outset, I owe each of you a big thanks for logging, and I assure you that the next 1 hour is definitely going to be a rewarding experience with useful takeaways for us. Yes, I am saying this with confidence because we have an iconic speaker and he'll speak under the topic how leaders can use AI every day. Artificial intelligence has arrived in the workplace and has the potential to be as transformative as the steam engine was to the 19th century. Industrial revolution. With powerful and capable large language models, we have entered a new information technology era. The long-term potential of AI is great, but the short-term returns are unclear. The rise of AI is altering the way leaders work, ushering in a new era of leadership. In this rapidly changing market, leaders that adapt and embrace AI will gain a substantial advantage. AI for leaders is about reinventing decision-making, communication, and strategy. In the age of AI, leaders must use data-driven insights to make better decisions while also encouraging team innovation. Automation will replace tedious jobs, allowing leaders to focus on vision and strategy. Furthermore, AI for leaders will improve the ability to forecast trends, manage risk, and promote meaningful consumer engagement. I have the pleasant duty of welcoming and introducing our eminent guest speaker, Mr. Venkatarangan Thirumalai, to this interactive business networking session. He has over 28 years of experience in software services. Venkatarangan Thirumalai is a founder catalyst and a honorary Microsoft regional director. His professional journey includes founding Vishwak Solutions in 1996, growing it into a globally recognized company with a presence in India, Seattle, and London. Additionally, he co-founded a fintech startup introducing innovative business documents management through Azure AI. Renowned for his insights that cut through industry hype, he focuses on creating user-centric technology solutions. He predicted the rise of mobile phone as primary computing devices in developing regions in 2003 and now anticipate a transition to omnipresent technology surpassing traditional smartphones. His forward thinking led to the creation of a machine learning driven, patent pending predictive news app. As a Microsoft regional director since 1999 and an IEEE senior member, he is a respected speaker in technology and business circles. He has a proven track record in guiding startups, particularly in SaaS and virtual reality, from the foundational stages to successful scaling. He is an advisor to the Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam International Foundation, actively participating in the House of Kalam, Rameshwaram. Additionally, his passion for Tamil language computing drives his involvement with the Tamil Virtual Academy, assisting in the digital library and Tamil computing projects. He is also an author with his recent Tamil book on consumer technology, Nutpam, adding to his diverse accomplishments. Outside of his professional realm, he is a dedicated reader, film enthusiast, and blogger. His blog, Venkatarangan.com, spans 20 years with over 4,000 posts, engaging more than 2 million readers. Residing in Chennai, India, his work reflects a blend of technological expertise and cultural affinity. It's now up to us all to seize the opportunities this challenging time has created to build upon the lessons learned. I wish you all interesting and productive webinar and look forward to a collaboration in the weeks and months to come. Once again, a very warm welcome to you, Venkatarangan Thirumalai. We are truly privileged to have you deliver the speech today at AABN. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Venkatarangan.
Thank you, Mr. Gopi, and to all the participants. It's really very happy to see about 72 of you on a Sunday morning. I was not expecting it, so thank you so much for it. I'll promise I'll make it interesting and as fun as possible. And I also promise I'm not going to ask any of you to write any code or do anything tough on a Sunday morning. We'll try to make it as fun. It's about learning. It's about exchanging ideas, what AI can actually do for us. It's a very fast changing world we are in. It's every field is going to be touched by AI, both positively and negatively. In general, I'm a very optimistic person, but the next few years, I think we'll have some rough patches before we start seeing the full benefits of AI. It's going to be a bumpy ride. So join me in the next 1 hour, and any questions, anything which is critical, stop me. Otherwise, questions we can take it at the end. So thanks once again for the organizers and Mr. Gopi. So we can get down into the presentation. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Fantastic. So that's my contact. So if any of you want to connect in LinkedIn or whatever, you can take a photograph and connect. So as I said, I'm going to be talking a couple of about 6 to 7 use cases today. Now you can use AI. These are very simple use cases, but I'm sure as business leaders, you can extrapolate the possibilities from these use cases onto your business. And if you have any questions on that, you can ask. So this is one of my famous quotes. I wish I wrote it, but it came up last year, and I like to start many of my talks with this particular quote. It actually captures what is happening in today's AI. We are not there in AGI. I'm not into scaremongering that AI is going to take over the world. It's not about Terminator movies and all that. So this particular quote, if you say, I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing. But today AI actually does art and writing so that I can do laundry and dishes. So it's kind of an irony, but it captures, as you can see, today's AI thing. We don't want to drive our cars because of the traffic, but we still don't have self-driving cars in India to drive. We want to fly like in the comics and movies of the 1960s. We don't have it, but we have things which can draw and animate and do movies and all that. So we are moving towards that, but it's going to be art and writing and jokes. So when I put this quote, I also think of about 2 years back. I think November 22 is when ChatGPT came. In fact, ChatGPT was 3.5. Before that, there was GPT-2 and GPT-3. 3 was actually when that should be about 2021 time frame. That's when these models kind of showed possibilities of real conversational approach. So one of the things I asked it to do in the early days when ChatGPT came out is to say, can you do a story, funny story that I can open my talks with? And GPT actually generated a very funny story. It said a monkey wanted to impress all the other animals in the forest. So it set out to build a boat. Okay. And because it's a monkey, it only knows of bananas. So it ate the bananas, the fruit, and with the skin, it kind of made a boat. It was super happy with the boat. It was really a big boat, lots of bananas. And it invited the largest animal in the forest, the elephant. And the elephant came in, and you can imagine what would have happened when an elephant stepped inside a banana made, skin made boat. It sank, and the elephant was furious. It kept chasing the monkey. The story goes on. But it kind of showed me models that a model, an AI model can actually tell a story. This story is not out there. It was something the model has really created itself. We call it as it has generated itself. I'll tell you why the word generated is important here. And that showed the possibility of what these models can actually do. Earlier computer programs, we wrote it, it did exactly what we wanted to do. And we always say it's a computer bug because actually the bug is not computers, it's actually humans. We wrote the code and the bug was there. But these models, these artificial intelligence, generative AI models, are for the first time able to create new knowledge, new information, which didn't exist before. So that's why they are called generative AI. They generate. And you would have heard about this. These models guess the next couple of words. When you give it a question or a prompt, it guesses or it statistically computes the next possible words that is likely to come. And it uses various models. In this particular case, it's a transform model. We'll not go into any of that. But the idea is these models can generate something which didn't exist before. And these are today multi-models, which means it can generate video, audio, images, text, source code, so on and so forth. Now, these models are not new. So the next few minutes, I like to walk you through that these models are not new. The artificial intelligence and machine learning have been there for almost 70 years now. The term artificial intelligence was coined in 1956 by John McCarthy in the famous Dartmouth University. He invited lots of brilliant people in those times, which were predominantly, they're not computer scientists because that field kind of didn't exist in the strictest sense in those times. It was mathematicians and statisticians. And he invited them, and they coined this term artificial intelligence. We'll not get into why they coined it that and all that. But then in the next every few years, every 10 years, there was something called as AI winter. When the investments kind of stopped, people were disillusioned. There was lot of progress sometime, and then the progress slowed and all that. But in the last 15 years, whether we know it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not, these models, the machine learning models, are in our day-to-day life. Simplest example, your Gmail. 15 years back when you had Gmail, you would have seen the amount of spam that you would have got. But today, there is very little spam in our Gmail. Of course, the spam has moved on to phone calls and WhatsApp and all that. But Gmail is kind of spam free. Similarly, your Hotmail, Microsoft 365, whatever it is. And the reason is that there is machine learning at work. These models are continuously learning. There's a billion messages, billion emails a day sent in across the world. And these models are able to get trained themselves. The other example, very familiar example, you are on your YouTube or Netflix, you press play, it kind of instantly plays. There's no buffering like what it used to happen earlier. And there's a lot of machine learning at the back of it to make it happen. Why? Netflix, for example, kind of knows that today, after this talk, you're going to have your lunch, and then probably after a nap, you're going to watch a movie or a serial. Netflix knows very precisely that this account, say Mr. Rajesh or Mr. Kannan, what serial or movie you're going to watch today afternoon in your Netflix account. Netflix kind of is able to predict. It's prediction. They don't know, they're not watching by a camera what you're doing, etc. But they know by prediction, like millions of users, what they are likely to watch today, even before you have decided a movie or a serial to watch. And they are download. The reason they need to know this, they need to download this movie that you are going to watch in the afternoon, or very likely many others in Chennai will be watching those same serials or movies in the servers that's closest to you, in your Jio, Airtel servers, in Chennai, whatever. So that when you press play, the movie kind of instantly plays. So there's a lot of work behind that. And in your recommendation, if you go to your app in Netflix, you'll actually see it doing smart downloads, which is the next step to this. So they're able to predict. So there's a lot of things, these machine learning models in each of your industry, I'm sure you're already using machine learning, whether you know it or not. And that's been working. What's changed in the last 2-3 years is ChatGPT and all your generative AI, like I was talking, because they're able to generate new content. And they're called large language models, which again is important because their language, they're able to understand language. Earlier, we had to use source code, we have to use various mechanisms to communicate to computers. That's why various assistants like your Siri or Google assistant earlier didn't really work. But today, these models understand language. They can also talk back to you in the language. We'll not go into the engineering and the science of it. So this field has been around for almost 70 years. A lot of progress has happened in the last 3-4 years because there's a lot of data for these models to train, and also there's a lot of compute power available. Now, we'll just walk through some of the examples I have used in my career to just give you an idea, and then we'll move on to the demo parts of things. This is something I built about 8-9 years back. It's called SimpleLogic. It's a news application. What we wanted to do is you just launch this application. You just get one news. That's all. There's no share. There is no next story, nothing. We just wanted to do about 8 years back. Can we predict what news you are likely to want to read at that point in time, just like Netflix is able to do it for movies. And we kind of worked, but it didn't really, the app is not available today, but it didn't really, the percentage of its accuracy was very, very less because those models in those times were limited. But the idea still holds good. Can I predict? Can I give you what you need? Only that, instead of asking you to choose and all that. And you can think, if I can predict what is that you will want at this time, I can also get away with a lot of user interface and all the other complexities that we are having in our applications today. And this is something we build. Mr. Gopi was also reading in my profile, very kind of him. This is the fintech startup that we worked with a partner about 5 years back. What we wanted to do is kind of build a profile of high network individuals in the US who are investing in various investments, and can we build a profile of them from the documents they have given. Because when we spoke to a lot of financial service companies 5 years back, the biggest problem is they were having their CRM systems and all that, but they didn't have a visibility into the documents of the customer. This could be their portfolio investments, their kind of know your customer equivalents in the US, and the family documents and all that. But only when you have a holistic view of the customer, you can build a complete profile. That's why we were trying to do. We were trying to complement the CRM systems. And what we did, by just going through thousands and thousands of documents that an investment firm will be having of their customers, we wanted to do into three things. We wanted to classify these documents so that it's easier to find these documents. We wanted to see how compliant are these documents to the various regulations, etc. And we want to comprehend these documents. That's why it was called Docu 3C. And we were using machine learning models which are available. But today, if we were to do this, we'll be using one of the large language models which have a better understanding of the documents. Okay. So this is another thing we built recently, about a year back, for a US law firm. It's called Legal AI Assistant. We built it for one of the largest US-based law firms. What they wanted to do is they wanted a ChatGPT instance within their organization so that they don't have any document leakage. They were doing very sensitive legal cases. And we kind of cloned the ChatGPT interface. We were using GPT in the backend, calling the API, deploying it in Azure. We didn't rebuild it. Obviously, it's going to be billions of dollars, which we didn't do. So using Microsoft Azure, we created an instance of ChatGPT privately for them. And we created these 6-7 tabs. What they were doing is image generation, review, fact checking, summarizing, writing, very familiar things today. Many of us will be using ChatGPT. And in the last 1 year, we have found the usage of this has really skyrocketed within the law firm, and it's really given them tangible benefits into the time that they save. Obviously, time in legal is money. Don't ask me whether the time they saved, they didn't charge it to the client. I don't have the visibility to that. I wish they did. But the point is, there is real usage. And there's a lot of documents. People ask me, what is okay, these AI models are good, but they're expensive. What is the tangible benefit that I get in my organization? A recent study in the Australian finance department in the ministry, they did across 270 of the ministry staff. And they found out that if these models are able to save about 13 minutes of time of their staff, it's able to pay back the money that they spend on, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, or the particular test was conducted for Microsoft Copilot, but the findings hold good. So if it's able to just save 13 minutes, you get back the money that you spent on these models. But the actual saving could be a couple of hours. In my opinion, if productivity, a typical staff in an office environment can save anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes in their daily work by using any of these tools. We'll switch gears before we go into the demo. This is probably the only kind of teaching slide, if you may call it that, I'm going to be doing. Just get rid of this. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Okay, so we are interacting with these models, ChatGPT, through prompts. I just like you to remember there are 6 elements of a prompt. Again, this is not a lesson. You don't need to recall any of this. Just get an idea, because as we see in the examples, as we move on, you will be able to understand it better. These models work very well when you say who you are or who you want the model to be. So the role that you want the model to play, or the role you are actually playing, or you could give both. Then what is the instruction? What do you want the model to actually do? You want the model to find or tell you a joke, then that's the instruction. You give it the context. Why are you doing this? When I'm asking any help with my book or my social media post. I give it the context. Again, I'll show you examples of it in the next slide. I'll give it the context. Why am I doing this? I'm writing a social media post so that I can get engagements. I tell it, and then I give the input, whatever I write. If I wanted to rewrite, I say this is the text I want you to rewrite. This is the output I want you to give me, and then various tools that the model can use. Today, this is changing as agentic AI or agents in AI thing, and that's a evolving field where you are able to give these models various tools which have agency to operate independently. We'll not be discussing that in today's talk, but those are happening. The simplest tool example today in ChatGPT or Google Gemini, you'll see that search option where you'll enable, so telling the model that you go search the internet and then use that input also. That's again a tool the model is using. So who you are or who the model you want it to be, the instruction, the context, the input, output, and the tools. This is an example of a prompt, very detailed prompt. Actually, this is a summary of a prompt. But if you see, I'm giving it various examples. Rather than just say rewrite the social media post for me, I'm giving it a lot of context. Earlier, we used to call this a system prompt or meta prompts, but they are again instructions that you can give it. What I want you to focus is on, I'm telling the model that you are assisting Venkatarangan Thirumalai, a long-time writer, etc. And I say stay personal, as if I'm speaking to my followers, what I want the model to do. I'm asking it to use Indian English, avoid jargons. We might see when you give it to ChatGPT, you might see a very canned response, lot of M dashes, and you may not feel like you have written it. So by prompting this way, be personal, clear language, and if you're able to give it your own writing examples, it actually will do a lot better. And I say platform specific tone. If I'm asking you to write for LinkedIn, be professional, for Facebook, be informal, Twitter, short, stick to the facts, don't bring external information that you know. Finally, fact check, and then polish and do. So I'm giving a lot of instructions. Again, you don't need to remember any of this. The idea is as much as you can tell the models, it is going to work very well. If you're having your development team, your engineering team, software team write programs and use these models, the engineers may not really know all this. So you might want to give it to them that this is the system prompt you should be using. You can try it in ChatGPT and then give it to them and say, this is what you're asking. You're writing a software that's going to generate marketing messages for your organization and your developers have written it. It's better your marketing team writes the system prompt and gives rather than leaving it to the engineers, so that it will be very effective. These models follow instructions today very, very carefully. So as much as you're able to give it, your output will be what you want. We'll switch gears. We are going to see demos. Let me pause here for a minute if any of you have any questions so far, because I'm going to be switching into about 6-7 use cases from now on. Any questions? I can take it now.
Sir, Yashwant here, if you
Yes.
permit me.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir, for evolving engineering and design related topics, how do we use this prompt functionality? It's not related to software engineering, it's related to the core engineering, mechanical, piping, and electrical stuff like that.
Okay. Okay, that's a good question. See, every industry, you might also go into and ask. I did a session in Maldives for hotel industry there. Their question is, how can we use it for hotel industry? It's a very physical industry because it's going to touch humans. Especially Maldives, you know, it's premium luxury service. They are very particular about their human touch. And the example, I elaborated longer example, but as an answer, in your industry, if you're into design, if you can write it in English or any other language, basically, if you can put it in text, then these models understand text and they can output to you in text and give you an idea. Recently, I was in Thai, Thai startup event in Chennai, and Mr. C.K. Ranganathan, he was one of the speakers. He was interviewing one of the gentlemen, and CKR was mentioning that his production team in Karnataka, one of the warehouses, for example, they were able to save about 3 lakhs per month by using ChatGPT. And initially you will think, how did a warehouse save 3 lakhs per month by using ChatGPT? It actually turns out that they gave this, they described their whole situation with some data, obviously, and said, this is what we are doing in our warehouse. This is the number of people who are coming in, number of lorries coming in, number of output that's going in, so many people working. This is how we plan our shift. And they gave all this information and asked ChatGPT, you pretend to be an expert in optimizing logistics. Can you tell where all I can optimize? And it was able to give them the output. I'm guessing this, Mr. CK didn't say this, but from whatever he was saying, this is what I could gain. And you can understand it easily. If you're able to describe it, these models can take up those roles and tell you the answers. So coming back to your engineering example, if you're able to describe what you're trying to do and ask these models, this is what I'm trying to do. These are various ways in which I'm doing. This is the process I'm following. As an expert in this field, can you see any gaps and can you see areas of improvement? These models are going to give it to you. And recently with O3 and the other deep thinking model, it's also going to break it down why it's doing that. If you're able to break it down, it actually, in O3, if you have a ChatGPT subscription or Gemini, if you see that it will do thinking and output a big text. If you read it, those texts carefully, it's very interesting the path it kind of actually takes to resolve at that answer. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, very much helpful, sir. We are working on this, so if we need any guidance and help, can we reach out to you?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you so
that's
much.
how these models can be used. Recently, Google in their Google I/O last week talked about these models are able to help you on. They are calling it a new alpha. AlphaFold is the one which helped you to, which has won the Nobel Prize and chemistry models and all that. But recently, they are also using it to solve mathematical equations which have not been solved in the past. And how they are doing it is describing the mathematical equation and asking these models to say, can you find out better ways to solve these mathematical problems? These models are able to do it. They're not perfect in that sense, but it's going in that direction. And one more thing to add on to your engineering thing, these models are also are coming domain specific. So you will, if not already, there may be models, but if not, these models will start to understand and output engineering models to you. Google itself showed some 3D model being outputted by these models. So it's a matter of time, even engineering drawings, architecture will be coming out of these models. Any other questions?
Thank you for the replies.
Okay, so we'll continue. Okay, and these models, when I say these models, let me clarify, and again, I can take more questions at the end if you want on that. I'm equating ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Copilot, or Llama, or any of all of these are generative models, all of these are LLMs. And if there are questions on which one should I be using, I'm of opinion which one your organization is on, you can use it. Though there are differences between these models from a simple productivity task, there is not much. What do I mean by this? If your organization is already a Microsoft shop, you're using Microsoft 365, your default choice should be Copilot. You're already on Google Workspace, use Gemini. You're using something else, start using ChatGPT. Of course, you can have one or two in your organization, experiment with other things, but as an organization-wide rollout, it's better you stick to whatever you're already on. And you can have experts tell you more on that, but just the general guideline. Now, one of the things I've seen very effectively these models can actually behave is the role playing. And this image, what I'm trying to communicate is, you want to tell an employee who's coming late constantly to an meetings. You want to prepare for that meeting, especially if you're a very young HR, just finished your MBA, joined a large organization. You are sitting and you haven't faced these tough conversations. How do you prepare yourself? You can use these models. Interview preparation, these models are fantastic. What I've used effectively in my own personal consulting is to use it for negotiation. Get into a customer call, and we know how tough Indian customers are, and they are going to negotiate from your price at 50% or even lower. And you hopefully want to bring them up to 75-80% of whatever you're quoted. or 90% depending on your industry. And these models can be very useful to have that sounding board thing. When I started my business, say 30 years back, one of the toughest thing for me was not to hire people, get funding. It was to do my first firing of an employee. This person was a project manager, much older than me. I was probably 25 when I started my business, and this gentleman should have been in his 40 or 45 years. And I was preparing in my head for about almost a week. What do I tell him when I fire him? And over the years, of course, with hundreds of employees and not hundreds of firings, hopefully, you learn that what I've learned, which I'm sure is experience of many of you would have been, is there's no nice way of firing. When you're firing, you're in the eyes of the person who's being fired, you will be the most evilest person in that room today. You can't help it, but can you make it simple and less stressful to both of you? And these models, you can ask it to role play and then do it. Let's see a scenario. Let's go back to this example of an employee coming late, and how do we take this discussion? Is there a question? Okay, you're able to see my screen? Any of you? Can you read it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Anytime if whatever I'm showing, I'm going to be switching screens from now on. If anything is not clear, please interrupt and raise a voice. I can't see you. I'm in full screen mode, so you have to come on, unmute and talk, please. If it's any problems there. Okay, just focus on the top. This is what I've given. Draft a brief example. Again, just focus on the idea. You don't need, this is not a command. This is not a code. So just take the overall idea. And many of these models also talk Indian languages. So if you're comfortable typing in Tamil or Hindi or Telugu, these models pretty much work as good as English. So don't worry about that. My examples are English for wider audience. What I'm asking here is draft a brief conversation script to give a constructive feedback to a team member who's often late to meetings but is otherwise performing well. Ask me questions. This is the key word. I'm asking the model to ask me questions as to coach who will understand me, the team member, before giving me the advice. I'm not saying if you just give the first line, it's going to give you a very canned answer. The second line is important. Ask me questions as a coach who will understand me. Now you can connect back to the 6 elements of a prompt I said. Role, context, and all that. I'm giving it in this fashion. Now the model, if you go, it's going to ask who's the team member. Can you tell me more about the team member? Can you tell me nature of the issue? Can you tell me your perspective? Do you want to fire him? Have you taken a decision? Or you want to just give him a tap in his wrist? What do you want to do? Company culture. What is your company culture? Desired outcome? Supportive measure. Basically, the model is trying to understand more about you. But it'll only do if you ask it to say, please ask me further questions to know more about me. So the key here, the effective thing in prompt engineering, if you don't remember anything else in my talk today, if you want to use these models effectively, tell these models to ask you as much questions, ask you to understand you better. And if you're able to supply more information about yourself, it's going to work very well. Once it's done, once it's gathered all this information, it's asked all those questions and I'm answering those questions. He's an young man, 25, basically answering the questions. I'll not go into the detail. And then it's saying, thank you for giving this information. And then it's giving me a constructive conversation script. Thanks for taking the time to speak to me. Before we dive in, I want you to know that I really appreciate the creativity, enthusiasm, standard HR talk. However, there is something important we need to address, and then it goes on to do the entire conversation. Okay. Then I ask me, can you give me tough FAQs? This is the most important part. He may say, or how do I counter? It's not like he's going to use ChatGPT and come back and answer the same way that ChatGPT has predicted. He's going to put you completely off track and ask something else. So that's what we want to prepare on. So it's saying, can you give me a few FAQs? And then how do I counter? He'll obviously say, I finished my work on time. So why does it really matter if I'm late? If you're handling now your millennials, this I'm sure is the question. This is what my son asked me. What does it matter? I sleep late in the day. I finished my college work. I get good marks. Why do you care? Is my son answers. Pretty much millennials, I suppose that's how they'll be answering. Or he might say, I don't realize it's a big deal, so on and so forth. So it's giving a lot of FAQs that you can prepare yourself. And you can easily extrapolate the same conversation you're having on a business negotiation before you are going, especially cross culture. I found these tools to be super useful. If you're sending an email to somebody in Europe or somebody in Middle East or somebody even in the US, where we may not completely understand their culture, or how do you present ideas to them. One of the examples I give in my talks to financial advisors, you can use these models to translate an advice you are giving for, say, an NRI to invest in India, drawing parallels with the way US investments work, because that's what they're likely to understand. But you don't know how the US investments work. So the model can actually combine that and give you the answer.
Yeah.
You can also use this for marketing. You are tapping a particular, you're writing to an African market on your engineering products. You may not know how things work there. You can ask these models and you can tailor your marketing message for those models. So, sorry, those culture and those countries. Infinity is the possibility for creativity with these models here. This is very interesting. For the other day, I was interviewing for an internship for this financial service startup I was showing you earlier from colleges within Chennai. I went to my college, SVCE, and we continuously take some interns from them. And recently, I was speaking to two students in a session, one after the other. I was asking them, what is the textbooks you read on computer science? And they were saying, or what subjects you have? They said operating systems. I said, do you read Tenenbaum? And microprocessor, I said, is it by Professor Balaguru Swami, the textbook? They were staring at me as if I talk Greek and Latin. I said, don't you, these are not the textbooks, have they changed? They said, no, we don't read from textbooks because the exams are more wider now. So I said, how do you read? How do you prepare yourself without textbooks? That's something completely strange to me. They said, we just go to ChatGPT, interact with it and learn the subject. And then we, for the actual lectures, we go to YouTube and see the lectures. We don't read textbooks. I was shocked. And then I talked to a few people and the academy, and I did some of my own research online. It seems to be the trend now. I'm not saying everybody is not reading from a textbook, but that's the trend. Good, bad, ugly, we leave it. That's for a different discussion. But students today are learning using ChatGPTs and YouTube videos and all that. And they are going to be your employees. So your corporate training has to be given to them in these formats. If you're going to give them a manual, very likely chance they will not read it. And they will come back and tell you you're a boomer. So you'll have those problems. So how do we use this? This problem is okay, but how do I use ChatGPT to learn? Again, by prompting, I'll show you some advanced mechanisms, but the easiest is you want to learn, say, about quantum mechanics. Oh, that's very complex. Let's take something simple. You want to know how does aeroplane flies? Okay, very simple thing. So I go to ChatGPT and say, can you explain to me how does aeroplane fly? I'm a 5-year-old kid. I start with that. So it explains to me the lowest possible way or simplest possible way, how does aeroplane fly? So I get some basic idea. Then I say, I'm a 15-year-old teenager. Can you explain how aeroplane flies? So it adds the complexity. Now I say, I'm a bachelor in physics. Can you explain to me how does aeroplane works? So it basically kind of start as if I'm working with a personal tutor to step by step go on to increasing the complexity. If you try doing that, it's really fantastic way for you to learn new information. I'm actually myself learning more by using this technique than anything else. And that's how these models can be really used. So your organization training also can be, you can customize your models or customize something and give your manuals, your information and all that to these models and leave it to your employees to interact with it and learn the way they want as a conversation. So that's the best way to learn today. Let's see some examples. There is this tool Google has got. Many of you would have tried it. It's called Notebook LM. Okay, so yeah. This Notebook LM is a very fascinating tool where Google is trying. It's again based on their Google Gemini. Some of these capabilities are also available in ChatGPT, or you can Google and find out how do I use ChatGPT to do this. Sorry, it's going to do that, but I'm going to be using the Google example. What I've done is I've loaded my entire book that I'm writing a book called Founder Catalyst now, where I'm where I've captured the various lessons I've learned in my business. This is a complete book it's going to get released next month about various. Not going through the book, but various chapters of this particular book. So what it's going to do is I've given this book and I'm asked it to, can you make it easier for me to learn this book? Once I do this, it's going to do a podcast.
Becomes your anchor. It guides your decisions.
Yeah. The author even describes the founder leap as this ongoing journey of learning, right? Built on integrity and trust within your team.
Yeah.
He shares his own experience transitioning from being an engineer, solving problems with code, something he clearly enjoyed, especially with his early shareware success, EasyPass,
Right.
to the much more, well, ambiguous world of leading people.
And what's particularly interesting for you in his experience is that...
Okay, so Kathy, I'm sure you would have heard this audio. It's prepared, this whole book, as if it's a podcast where two people are discussing this book. And it's a 40-minute kind of podcast it has prepared, going through the various chapters. I listened this book. This is one of my early revisions. I listened this whole thing and it was super useful for me to edit and fine-tune the book. Because now I'm hearing two different people, as if they are reading that, I've read my book and giving me feedback. That was super useful. Imagine the same thing I should have given to my friends, pestered them for weeks to read, and they will just send me a WhatsApp thing. Oh, it's a nice book, Venkat, good luck. They won't share me the feedback. To get real feedback, I have to lock them in a room, give them lots of coffee, and then get them the feedback. Now, with this, I can give a perspective to people talking about my book. More than the book, this can be a very complex manual, very difficult idea that you're trying to wrap your head around. How do you make it easier for you, palatable? Just put it to this tool, ask it to create a podcast in just one click. It's going to create and give it to you. You can listen. You will get a different perspective of looking at the problem. And many ways, some people like images. It can also generate mind maps. For a different, for my Tamil book, it was able to create a mind map for my book. It was able to do a mind map. So I was able to see, oh, this is how people are looking at the idea of the book. This is the mind map it's able to create for my Tamil book. Again, this is again from Notebook LM. So productivity and tools, what are various chapters it has done, etc. So you can see the potential of this. What you gave as text or audio or images, it is able to give it to you in different formats so that you can learn. For learning, this is the best thing that has happened to human race, in my opinion, on learning. Moving on, creativity, that is supposed to be me. I gave my image and asked ChatGPT to draw. You would have seen all the Studio Ghibli images that's going around last month. People were all doing this. These models are very good in creating. They can now do images, they can do music, they can do videos. We'll see them. But for creativity, they are super useful. And in your organization, you can use it for your marketing. You can use it to present your ideas in very different ways to your clients. Let's see some examples. See, one of the things this is one simple example we can do here. I asked one of the ways, okay, many times I get this question, how do I write this prompt to get really what I want? The trick is to ask ChatGPT itself to write the prompt for you. Don't ask it to generate an image directly, but say, can you generate a prompt which will generate the illustration for me? It's kind of a neat trick. If you're able to use this, it's kind of a superpower that you will have. What I'm doing here is, this is a social media post I wrote last week. I was saying, just like sex education, we should be training our students, youngsters, on how to use responsibly AI. And there was an example on how Miami School was doing it that came in New York Times last week. So here I had this social media post that I wanted to write, but I wanted to have an illustration. So I said, can you generate a prompt to draw an illustration, a pencil diagram for this particular post? And it didn't generate the image, it generated a prompt. See, a very detailed prompt. It's able to generate. Now I use this prompt to generate an image. And you see the image is kind of what I want. It was creative enough that I'm saying student education history lesson I've given in that thing. It's able to bring up Einstein and Gandhi. It knows that I'm from India, all that context the model already had, and it's able to generate an illustration which was fairly very good. I was able to right away use it. It's putting that sex education on the wall, A education, A literacy, and all that. So recapping, the idea is to say generate a prompt which will generate an image, and you would have guessed by now you can tweak this prompt. Sometimes you will see this image that it's generating is not really what you want because it's misunderstood. So, but because it is text now, you can actually go and change it. That's how you can do it. We'll see some more examples. This is a story. Just be with me for a couple of for a minute. This is about my son when today is 22 years old. It's about 15 years back. He was 7 years. We took him to Udaipur Fort, and we had a local guide, maybe about 100 rupees. A local guy, not dressed very well, a youngster, and he took us through the fort completely. My son was also talking to him because he was showing him all interesting things in the fort. And once we were on the top of the fort, he said it's over. He collected 100 rupees. I was turning to the guide. Is there a question? Sorry. Okay, so I was turning to pay the guide, and once after I did, I turned. My son was not there. My wife also didn't notice. He was nowhere to be seen. He's a 7-year-old boy. It's a fort. It's an afternoon, and we didn't know where to look for him. It's a big fort. So me and wife said we'll divide and conquer. I'll look at the second floor. You look at the first floor, whatever. And this was afternoon. We were running 7-year-old boy because we were talking to the guide, and the guide was nowhere to be seen. So we really thought the guide kidnapped our son. We were really scared. And we were searching and panting and coming down. And as we came down, we saw he was playing with a white horse in the ground. And he was saying, "What took you so long? I came down here 15 minutes back." And that's when our life came back to us. We almost, both of us had a panic attack. We found him. So that's an instance that we recall whenever we meet any of our friends, and earlier, not now. This was a favorite story that my son wants us to narrate, but I wanted to draw it a diagram. So I gave the story to the prompt. I said, "Can you draw?" It draws this image which you have seen, but I wanted to do a comic strip thing. That's where these ChatGPT is evolving. It will do it in due course. But today, if you want to do this, Google Gemini has a way to do this. Google Gemini has a thing called AI Studio that's available for developers. Again, don't worry. I'm just telling you possibility that these models can do. I use Flash Preview image for this, and it's generating as panels the entire story. Okay, I'll show you one that I've earlier generated with the. So here it's generated a complete set of panels that I can use in a comic book strip, like the sun was looking, and then he's just leaving. Finally, you get the idea. Finally, he's with the horse. We were happy to have seen him, etc. But now with these models, we can actually have given my son's photograph, wife's photograph, my photograph, and it could do it. But you get the idea. Again, the trick, if you want to do this better, is to say, give this information, ask it to write the prompt, which will generate those illustrations for you, and you will be able to get a much better results. Okay. This is one of my favorite examples. If you see this photograph, it's of a train but colored. This is of my parents' wedding. My parents' wedding happened in Trichy. So my grandfather took my father and others in a train, and he booked a coach and put their name Madras to Trichy. And this is a story my grandfather, when he was alive, he kept telling us this is, and he was very proud of the fact that he was able to book a complete coach and then able to get. But that was always a black and white memory for me. I was thinking, how can I make it? It didn't come alive for me because it was in black and white. but I wanted it in color. So that's what I did. I gave it to ChatGPT, asked it, this is the black and white image. And this is the colored version. As ChatGPT, imagine. And that set out to me to thinking that if we can, why do I want in color? It's more lively. Black and white kind of makes it as history and it's kind of archival purpose. And that made me wonder, my paternal grandfather, who founded Lifco Books almost 100 years back, I have never seen him. When I was 5 years old, he passed away. So this was the only photograph I have of him. And I wanted to see how will he actually, I wanted to feel him. So this is a photograph. But I wanted him to be in action. So what I did, I'll play it once again. I gave it to an AI tool, gave this photograph and said, can you animate him by this gentleman looking at the leather pouch? Of course, I could have given it a longer duration, etc. But suddenly my grandfather, who passed away almost 50 years back, I could see him more in flesh and blood. Kind of, I could get a feel of him. So this way you can, I won't say you can bring back people from the dead, but you can connect with them. You can also use it to generate your own animations for your marketing purpose, education, training purpose, and all that. You can also use these models to generate videos. Today, these models are very powerful when it comes to video generation. I'll also show you an example of that. If you're in ChatGPT, there is something called a Sora, which will generate videos. You can give it a prompt and it's going to generate videos. I'll also tell you about this particular tool. This is called Chat LLM. This is by a company called abacus.ai. If you want to try out many of these models, you can take this subscription. It's about $10. There are many companies. This is one I use, where it gives you access for $10 per month to all these models: GPT, Claude, Gemini, DeepSeek from China, Grok from Twitter, Llama from Meta. All these models are available to you in one single way. You can use it to video generate, audio generate, images, everything. So using this model, I gave it a prompt: create a realistic video for 10 seconds. It has to be a closed documentary effect in dense forest. And it created this complete video for me. Look at the realism of the video. And the idea again is these models are becoming more sophisticated as we talked about. Few months back, this kind of realistic videos are not possible. Today, it is possible. And if you're a storyteller, imagine the possibilities that you're able to generate a small video and able to tell a story all from a single prompt. It's kind of super powerful. Okay, we'll move on. I have a couple of more demos. These models are also super good in understanding data. One of the things in large organization we always have is we have a lot of data. How do we make sense of this data? It's really difficult. That's where these models can actually help you on data visualization. What is an example? We'll go to movies, my favorite genre. I've downloaded a movie data set where I've got a set of ratings for movies. Sorry. And I'll also have a set of movies with me. Movies and ratings. I'm going to give it to this model and say, can you help me to visualize this? That's what I've done. It's a kind of a CAN demo. I've used ChatGPT. I've used the O3 model. I've loaded all this data to it. And I've said, you are a data scientist working with movie lens education. These are the data that you have got. Can you create a bar? Now, you might ask, oh, this prompt looks very detailed. I don't know how to write it. Again, the trick, like I said, I used a previous instance. I said, this is the data I've got. Can you write a prompt to generate the visualization, which is why it's able to do this large prompt. And here it's used various things. We'll not go into this. But look at the output. From the Excel, it's able to create a visualization, average movie rating by genre, number of ratings per month. It's able to do rating per year. It's kind of made it easier for me to visualize the data, and it's also able to give me a a summary of the whole thing. Kind of super useful, as you can imagine, that very complex data, I can start visualizing with it. Okay, one more example. We all have health reports, but we don't want to ask a lot of questions to our doctors. We just say, oh, doctor sees our blood test and says, you have this problem, do it. So we have a blood test report, for example. Okay. And let's go. Let's just take a blood test report. Here is my father's. He's no more, so he's not going to complain to me. I'm sharing his data. So here is his blood test report taken at some point in time. So I'm going to go to this model and asking, you're an expert doctor, can you tell me about this blood test? So it's able to see it and decipher it to me in a way I can understand. And it's also giving me some recommendations on diet. Okay, should I use ChatGPT as my doctor advice? Strictly no, it's not the best idea. But once you've got an advice from your doctor, you can actually use it to understand it better. Why, what to do, keep asking follow-up questions to it. And it's super useful, especially doctor will say you have this mild anemia and you won't explain what it is. Now you can come and ask ChatGPT what it is. Of course, movie is a genre example, health is a genre example. You can imagine using this in your own industry. That's data visualization. Last is on one of the questions I get often is, because these models are good, it's able to generate, but I often feel they are copy pasting, they are plagiarism, they are plagiarizing some people's work. Like the example of a New York attorney presented to a court about a year back of cases which didn't exist. These models have made up those cases. They hallucinate. Today, the term in the industry, we don't call it hallucination, we call it confabulation. Confabulation meaning lying without the intention of lying. But these models are not out there to lie or deceive us or anything. They are operating on a statistical model. We want the model to be creative. If you want perfect answers from these models, then you are going back to your coding mechanism. You want these models to generate something, but you want it to be creative. At the same time, you want it to also be grounded. These are two conflicting things. That's why the companies are putting more and more, what do you call, rules and verifications on top of it. So if you go into those thinking, you'll actually see, oh, I generated this. It seems to be wrong. Let me regenerate. They do something called as reinforcement learning and they fine tune it and all that. But the idea is you have to be careful on the output that comes from these models. So they do plagiarize. When I was writing this book, I used these models to edit my book. And suddenly it felt good. And I was super happy. A particular chapter turned out to be too good. Then I asked these models to check whether it's copy pasted from elsewhere. And to my shock, it was just doing it. When I said funding is super important for startups, they have to conserve your cash flow. It said, why do I need to take information from him? Let me go to an Harvard Business Review, which has proved funding cash flow is important, and replace that paragraph. If you think about it, their model is not doing a mistake. Here, I've given information, it is going to the source, authentic source for that same information and replacing it so that my output is best. But it doesn't know that in a book, you can't copy paste from somebody else's idea to my book. It doesn't work that way. So now, then I have to go and give it to, I'll show you the example of the prompt. I have to tell these models, don't copy paste, don't do verbatim copy paste. You're only a copy editor. Your role is only to improve the language, not change the ideas that I'm presenting. But the good news is these models are also good in detecting. When I ask these models, you are a plagiarism tester, can you go and check how much of this paragraph that I've given you or the chapter I've given you is being copy pasted from elsewhere? It can actually do a very good job. It said 85% the content that you wrote to is similar to some other book. So it's a double-edged sword. It can do plagiarism. It can also detect plagiarism. Now, these are some of the prompts that I will give. I added as to avoid plagiarism. I said, do not add new ideas or example. Stay grounded. Do not copy paste from any existing source. Rephrase in your own words or in my own words. Use different sentence structures, synonyms and all that. It's a very long prompt I've written, but basically, that's how you'll be able to reduce the plagiarism here. Let's see if I can show you a quick example of this prompt. Yeah, this a portion of the prompt that I given to avoid these mistakes. Last one, and then we will wrap up. These models are also can do computer age and computer usage, as they are called. The chat LLM I was talking about allows access to this. What it basically is, it will automate what you're doing in your machine. For example, you would have seen a lot of demos where you can say, I want to book a trip from Chennai to Madurai. I want you to browse the best fares, book it. I want you to book hotels. I also want you to book pickup and all that. This will mean the model has to browse various sites, output your credit card information and all that, use your preferences, do the entire job for you. To some extent, these models can do it today by this thing called as computer usage or computer use. And you are also going to see more and more of this coming, where they'll be able to automate all the other applications, SAPs and all that. Eventually, they will be able to automate the machineries in your organization. If you give it agency, that's where agentic AI comes, where you connect various agents to these models and then say, you go and operate it. And it's going to do that. Very interesting possibilities are coming. Lastly, before I give you some tips and wrap up, want to highlight that these AI tools are not perfect today. As we are pushing the boundaries, we are going to find more and more problems of them, and we are going to keep fixing as the complexity increases. Newer problems are going to come, which are going to get fixed. They are evolving at a very, very rapid pace. Simple examples, till a couple of months back, this was valid. If you ask any of these models, count the number of R in strawberry, instead of the answer, I suppose, is 3, it's going to tell you 2. The reason why they do is different, but let's leave that. They were as simple, they were able to do very complex job, but at the same time, counting number of R's in strawberry, they couldn't do. So take it with a pinch of salt. Like our Prime Minister was given example in February in Paris when he spoke. You tell these models, there is a left-handed boy drawing a bird on a paper. That's the prompt you give and ask it to generate an image. That's the prompt I gave it to generate this image. You will see that he's actually drawing with his right hand, but my prompt was left hand, a left-handed boy drawing. The models are trained on mostly right-handed images. So it always thinking drawing means it's right hand. Again, these problems they are fixing as we move on. Last thing, a kind of wrap up and then I can take questions, is how do I use this model effectively? If that's the question, these are the 4 steps that I normally recommend. Identify your need first. What is that you want to solve? What is that you want to get it solved? Or what you want it to be automated? For me, in my case, every day I use these tools very, very many number of times to improve my social media post, to improve my blogging, to improve my proposals I give in coding and so on and other. But these are my use cases that I daily use. Yours will vary. Select the right tools that I was talking about. I'm not a big fan of using every application that comes out there because there's too many applications. Everything.ai. For audio, there is one. For video, there is one. For anything you can imagine, there is an AI product from a company. I'm not a big fan of moving all this. Then you'll end up having 100 different subscriptions. Like I said, if you are in Microsoft Shop, go with Copilot. You're on Google, go with Gemini. You don't have anything, then go with ChatGPT. Or you like the best, then go with ChatGPT. Stick to that. Many of these models are improving. Same ChatGPT can do most of the things that I talked about in today's talk or Google Gemini. So use these select tools, solve your problems, learn, and then practice and rehearse. That's what I did in my book. I used this tools to improve as editing my book. Then I found out it was plagiarizing. Then I used it to find plagiarism. Then I asked it to improve. Now I'm using it to comment, like the podcast. It was able to generate a podcast. So I was able to review the book better. And as the book is getting finishing touches, I'm able to ask it to various things. Can you read this chapter as a founder, as a business leader, as a manager? Is there anything that is not clear to you? And it's giving me inputs, phenomenal inputs, so that my book is improved. So 4 things: identify your needs, select the right tools, solve your problem, repeat and rinse and repeat and learn from it. Lastly, A favorite quote of Mr. Nandan Nilekani: the real value of AI comes on how do you apply these technologies to make a difference to people. Key is people. We are not replacing people here. The value is how do we add value to people by using these technologies. And some of the tools that I demoed, some of them I didn't go into detail in my thing. There is, you can take a photograph of this. There is a document, a PDF that I give with various tools that you can use for various purposes, apart from ChatGPT, Gemini, if you wish to do so. For video generation, the video that I generated was with this tool called Kling.ai. Description could be agent, Suno, and all that. The last, that's my contact details. So I'll stop with this. Any questions, I'll be happy to take up and interact.
First of all, thanks, Venkat. Excellent session. We had a lot of takeaways from it. I will keep the floor open for question and answers now. Participants, you may please unmute and ask questions. I think Dr. Jinnah has a question. Yes, sir, go on, sir, Dr. Jinnah. Go on.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot. Thanks a ton, Mr. Venkatarangan Thirumalai. Actually, I'm Dr. Jinnah, former Chief General Manager of NABARD, joined from Trichy, your own native place. So thanks a ton for a very enlightening and engaging session. Okay.
Thank you.
And that 1 hour flew just like that. Okay. So thank you. And I also appreciate your wide range of interest from technology to Tamil literature. Okay. I mean, see, as a development banker of 40 years of experience, my intention is any technology should lead to human happiness. I think today, my understanding is that human happiness, is founded on 3 E's. Earth should be happy to have a good physical existence of human life and creatures. Environment should be vibrant to give livelihood for us. So first life, then livelihood. Third is equity. நம்ம திருச்சியில தாய்மாரவர் சொன்ன மாதிரி எல்லோரும் இன்புற்றிருக்கல்லாமல் யாதொன்றையும் பராபரமே. Everyone should get everything, minimum comforts. Okay, all need not be rich, all need not be poor. Everyone should have a minimum of 3 times food, shelter, and dress, and access to minimum educational and health facilities. Okay. From this point of view, artificial intelligence, the judicious use, evaluation of judicious use is very, very important. Okay, very, very important. So it can be a double-edged sword. It can be used this or that way. Correct. So that is one thing, I would like to just highlight. Before I close, I just 2 things. I'm 67 years old now. When I went to UK in 1988, I saw a lot of hoardings, big hoardings from London to Birmingham. I was driving down. So Idea Cellular is a big hoardings. Geography is now history. So mobile was getting introduced at that time. Today, I used to tell very, jokingly to our younger kids when I talk to them. Today, the younger kids are suffering from 3 எழுத்தில் தான் உங்க மூச்சு இருக்கு. One is EMI, equated monthly installment. Second is excessive mobile indulgence. Okay. So this is a kind of what is important is how do we view this judicially for all the 3s so that human happiness can be ensured.
Absolutely.
Something, I just wanted to. Thank you so much,
you're
sir,
right.
once again.
See, you're absolutely right. It's a double-edged sword. Just like every human invention, technology, fire can be used to burn a house, fire can be used to cook. Our whole human development is because of fire, but you can also use it to guns, weapons, nuclear, electricity, everything you can do. So AI is something like that. I am not of opinion to villainize AI, but villainize the people who are using AI for wrongdoing. That's the right way of looking at it. Like they say, the Americans saying now, if we don't build this, Chinese are going to build, which is a classic thing that they used. If we don't build this nuclear bomb, Germany is going to build it. The same thing holds good for AI also. But I think it opens a phenomenal possibility more for developing countries like us and more so for countries poorer than us in the African subcontinent, more than us, because for the first time, it's able to bring me human knowledge with a personal Twitter to me, which I didn't have access earlier. I'm sitting in Africa, sub-Saharan thing, I don't know, physics, basic physics, gravity. There's no one to teach me. But with these models on a cell phone, I can ask, there is a personal best Einstein available for me on a phone and teach me. Of course, if this boy is using to see pornography or do something bad and do fake news, that's a problem. But then as a society, I'm very sure we learn. Your happiness is absolutely right. A friend of mine, it's a real example. He uses ChatGPT to do his weekly meditation session planning. He says, I'm stressed today. I want to spend 10 minutes. How do I do meditation this week? And ChatGPT gives him a very beautiful plan. Again, let's not take health advice from these, but the possibility is so much. A rural clinic, there's a doctor or a nurse, somebody is coming to them with something and they don't have advice. This nurse can actually ChatGPT it and then at least point them on the right direction. So the phenomenal possibility of these tools are especially valid in this time. Yes.
Sir,
Thank
sir,
you so much.
don't
Thank you
listen.
so much.
Can you show that once again the tools, whatever the list, can you show once again?
Yeah, I can. I'll put the slide. You can take a photograph of it. You can download that. 1 second. Let me just share. Meanwhile, any questions anyone has, please.
Yes, Ravindranath sir. Ravindranath sir.
Yeah, you can download this. It's a 4-pager PDF. Just download this. Sorry, I'll put it one spot. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions, please?
Sir, good morning. Lakshmanan here.
Yes.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Please go on, Lakshman.
Sir, first of all, thank you for so much detailed explanation on day-to-day usage of AI. My question is that the kind of capabilities that you have showcased and the wide range of application that you have showcased, sir, I'm very surprised that already the industry, especially the business people who are counting on money, they should have already deployed this and made a lot of growth through their bottom lines. And I am surprised why it not happened until today. And even if I see in my slides and in my Google and in my presentation, there AI is there. But if I see in the real world, till a long way to go. Still the things are being done, at least in my perspective. I may be wrong. So can you explain the reason, sir, why it has not been democratized yet?
You've asked the $100 billion question, sir. If I can ask, what's your background, sir? What do you do?
I am into quality management system.
Okay. It's a very valid question. See, today we call them as foundation models. What OpenAI and Google and others are doing. There are only few companies which are doing these foundation models, and they are spending billions of dollars on it. Really, billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on this. Your question is absolutely right. Why are you not seeing the productivity improvement or real economic benefit of this in the economy as yet? Very valid question. See, today, the low-hanging fruits are only being plucked by these models, which is summarizing, rewriting, image generation, and all that. The engineering benefit, like the one gentleman asked earlier, the engineering problems, or like Mr. C.K. Ranganathan was quoting real-world benefits. These are just slowly starting to appear. It's just been 2 years. It feels like these models have been around for a very, very long time. You think about computerization. It came in 80s, but it almost 2000, 2005 is when, early 2000 is when really computerization happened. Similarly, digital transformation. We were talking about it for last 15 years in enterprises. Only in the last few years, the kind of transformation really happened. But these tools are being adapted at a very rapid rate. But still, it's going to be a couple of years, and companies are learning on how to really use these models. The technology also is not there fully yet. I was talking about this agentic AI and all that, which I didn't go into this session, they are just coming in the last few months. Only when those get integrated into your factory floor, your real operations and workflow is when you will start seeing real productivity like what we saw 20 years back with web and mobile and all that. It's happening. It's not happening as fast as these companies want us to believe, but it's not also happening slow. That will be my short answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Muthukumar. Can I add some perception into this question and answer?
Yeah, please, sir.
Yeah, see, I've been in the oil and gas industry. I've been using very advanced software for nearly 25 years. Some of the softwares are really, really very advanced, as you might have known. But many of them are not artificial intelligence, but softwares, and it requires high level of human supervision and intervention. So when these models, especially the large language models, came in 2022, definitely they have crossed a threshold. And as you explained very clearly in your presentation, they are very useful for a lot of. But the fundamental issue with respect to when it comes to complex processes with engineering and manufacturing design, what is happening is that there is a mismatch in the sense that all these technologies right now, which are being used, are highly prediction pattern based systems, and they do not need a very deep level of intuitive knowledge or understanding on logical reasoning. And the problem with the AI developers and creators, when it comes to very deep domain understanding for a thing, what happens is that what I understand, sir, is that they lack the domain expertise, the fundamental science. What is happening today is a lot of people have a lot of knowledge about applicative intelligence. They can understand application of technology and science. Everybody, even very high level of people, only use application technology. They know how to apply, but nobody knows the fundamental. Simple example is that everybody knows how to use gravity as a principle for something, but nobody, including science, knows what is the cause of gravity. Nobody has got a clue about what causes gravity, what is the fundamental science behind gravity. It's a simple example. And like that, science does not know so many things from a fundamental perspective.
Correct.
Whatever we see is that technology is an application technology. Everybody knows how to apply technology. And because of that lack of understanding of fundamental science behind something, it is very difficult to develop an AI.
Absolutely right. See, I'll give you a very example from my industry, software industry, is that see, one of the things you said is people not knowing that they don't know something is actually good, but they think they know because they know only very little, and then they think, oh, I know everything about aeronautics because I saw a 1 hour YouTube video. I know everything about aeronautics. Is actually very dangerous. Similarly, I just go to ChatGPT and ask everything about aeronautics. Doesn't make me an aeronautic engineer. Those are definitely real world problems. As a society, we have to learn. I don't have an answer. In the software industry, if I were to say these models are very good today in generating code. Today, 30% of the code in Facebook, Microsoft, Google are being generated by these models. And this number is actually growing. In my opinion, many others, very shortly in a year or two, most of the software code in large organizations will not be handwritten. They will be generated by these models. Now, what happens? If that happens, our engineering students coming and joining companies won't know how to write code. That's a real possibility. It's a problem in a way. It's also a boom, but that they'll be writing better code, these models. But then if something breaks, they won't know how to debug it. They have to again rely on a model to debug. Then what will happen is there will be an abstraction level and all that. We can take this conversation more, but just to keep it short, that's a problem in software industry itself. So similarly, in every industry has to go through this. But I think we learn where do we use this model and start building. Just like Newton said, I stood in the shoulders of giants. We're going to use these models to up our ante on what do we do. Rocket science, to launch a rocket earlier, if it took 10 years, I'm sure these models will make it easier to do that whole development in 2 years, 3 years, something like that. We'll see those productivity improvement coming in. There was a gentleman, Mr. Prem Kumar, he was raising his hand. Are you there? Maybe.
Hi, sir.
Can I go ahead? Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yeah, there was a lady I heard. Let's give it to ladies first.
Yeah. Ladies first. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. Do you have any other tool for accounts like expense, tracking that, profit and loss?
To do visualization, you can use these models, but these models are not stores. They are not repositories. You still need
Okay.
your Zogo invoice or SAP or Tally or anything to store these. You store your data. You can use these for analyzing. What will happen is your Zogo invoice Tally will include these models or integrate with this model. And that's when you will see the magic happening. It's happening as we are talking about. That's where the agent part of things comes. Zogo invoice will expose their data through an agent, and you will, from your chat GPT, you will connect using this agent to Zogo and ask questions or do some actions and all that. Those are happening as we are talking.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, sir, Mr. Vishwanath.
I'm actually a professor of practice in College of Engineering, Guindy.
Okay, sorry, Professor Vishwanath.
Yeah. My question is, how relevant are college teachers anymore? Are we like dinosaur?
Not really. I think the role is going to change because, like I said, the internship example I was talking about, I was shocked. They don't know Tenenbaum and Balaguru Swami, and they are doing BE computer science. I want to really go and snatch their degree and come from them. But then digging through some of the research papers on, I think there's a research done in Nigeria, and the recall of a subject by students who are just watching YouTube videos, lectures, is supposed to be better than real lecture. Don't ask me why I'm not a teacher. I'm not able to comprehend beyond that. But that's the proof that's coming in. So I was talking to my partner for this fintech. I was saying, if this is the way interns are learning, why are we still doing programming tests to them? Why are we interviewing them? What is technology? I felt stupid doing a video call and like this Dragon movie, if you have seen, the very popular movie now where he fakes his interview. I said, why are we doing these interviews this way? Do we even really want them to write code? Because ChatGPT is going to generate the code. What are we expecting software engineers to do? Is not write code anymore. It's probably write the prompt, which will give you the correct code and all that. It's all evolving. So we have to learn as we move on. But I think the role of a teacher, forgive me for going teacher because that's what I understand. Professor is on a higher level of thing. But students, if you take, like I said, we have to educate, like the Miami example I was quoting. If you read that paper, it's come in New York Times. Read out Miami district board is teaching 1,000 of their teachers to teach 100,000 of their students on how to use AI tools. They're allowing students to use AI in the classroom. One of the examples they were talking is Lincoln. They are talking about history and saying, if this is the problem that we are facing today, how will Lincoln would have solved it? Can you ask these models to role play as Lincoln and answer? Then suddenly the students are able to get into the minds of Lincoln and then President Lincoln and able to answer. They are able to connect with him rather than a dead man, dead 200 years back. And why am I reading about it? They're able to suddenly connect with them. I think the education will be a lot more better. But with our rigid curriculum in India, it's going to be a problem how teachers will evolve into that. But I think the possibility is endless. There will be short-term pain next 5-10 years, but I'm sure in the longer run, it's going to be really useful.
Yeah. In fact, Anna University is now focusing on research. We are now insisting it's no more a teaching university. We have been identified as a research university. So we are actually doing, we encourage students right from the second year to do industrial problems. In fact, one of the jobs I am doing is to solicit industries to visit and share their problems and use our students as interns to solve their problems. So we are slightly moving from teachers to mentors, actually. I mean, we are like kind of...
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
That's why these tools can actually help you. How do you connect with these students? And also the students, how to learn subjects. One of the biggest thing in our culture, I think as a student, I have a doubt. I don't go and ask my professor. I feel like a professor is going to ask me my 10th standard mathematics question before answering. I won't go and approach him, but with these models, I can feel free. It's going to be useful, but yes, society has to evolve. It's going to be fun.
Extending on Vishwanath.
When is your book getting launched?
It's almost over. I just approved the last manuscript. Next month, it should be out.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Good presentation, sir. Congratulations.
Excuse me. Extending on Dr. Viswanathan's point of view, he said how early is a professor or a teacher in a college. I just want to have a question. What will be the impact of AI on employment vis-a-vis our current curriculum and the kind of students we generate?
Okay, again a very tough question. I wish I had a prediction bowl, but let me tell you from the computer industry, software industry, because that's something I'm familiar with. In the last 30 years, as India, all of us will agree, the middle class, bringing a lot of people into middle class IT industry and the ancillary industry, BPOs, and all that has played a very phenomenal role. If as an encapsulation of that, if we take it as TCS, Infosys, Wipro, and all the top 5 companies, they were just factories of people, couple of lakhs, and then solving problems for the world and all that. I'm not demeaning them. I'm from the industry. I made my career in that industry. That is going away, or that is already gone. So today, you don't need these engineers today to write the code. When 30% of code Microsoft or Google is writing is by these models, why do they need an engineer or an army of engineers from Infosys to do this? They just don't need them. But at the same time, who's going to operate these AI models? I'm sorry. And who's going to give it to them, operate them, and all that is something that's going to change. And I think the problems that we'll try to solve will also be more complex, that engineer's time is freed up from writing code. Can I use them to solve larger level problems? Can I write more complex softwares? Today, I ask any of you, all these 80, 90 people today, do you enjoy your corporate enterprise software? I'm sure 100% of you will say, I don't enjoy. Enjoy is the keyword. I don't connect emotionally with the corporate software that my company has created, I have created. There's no emotional connect because you just want SAP to solve your problem. That's it. You don't want SAP to have an emotional relationship with you or enjoy it. But that will free up your time, your engineer's time to focus on better user interface, better problem solving and all that. I think that is what will go, but we have to evolve. Like the professor said, as teachers have to evolve. I think the biggest ownership as a founder, I think it rests on entrepreneurs and founders to change what is that we are expecting. If I'm expecting this intern student to recall a Tenenbaum book, he's going to fail pathetically. And I'm going to come back and say, today's students are what? I'll be nostalgic. Look at my time, I can remember Tenenbaum. Look at my father's time, he can remember Renan Martin. I'm going to go only in a nostalgic tip. But these students are super intelligent. The topics that you ask them, I have no idea. They know so much. How do you channel them? So we have to revolve all that. So coming back to your question, as industry employment, we have to change completely. There is going to be disruption. Every industry is going to suffer. Mostly, it's already journalists, writers, media industry, movie makers, software. These are industry, I think in 5-10 years, even in 5 years, we won't recognize it. But will we not be there? I'm sure they will be there, but they'll be very different. I'll just give you with the quote, Mr. Shekhar Kapoor, the famous movie maker. 2 years back in a conference in Singapore, I was there. The same question was put to him, how do you see these tools in impacting movie making? He said, I think it's a great thing for me to have as a tool so that I can tell more stories. He saw that I can only tell stories. And the reason he said, I can only feel pain, love, affection, loss. AI tools are not going to face that. They can pretend to face, but they can't really face. And the experience of Mr. Shekhar Kapoor, these AI tools are not going to know. So the story that he can say is going to be very different that an AI tool can do, but it's going to make these tools available to him so that he can tell these stories. I'll just leave you with one example, Mr. Gopi. I'm not sure how much time we are going. I see a lot of movies. Today, the movies that I'm seeing, I'd be very happy to see MGR again. And going back to MGR formulaic movies, look at the possibility where I can just go to ChatGPT or something and say, generate an MGR movie with this particular plot outline. And if it's able to do a 2-hour movie that can keep me entertained, what's wrong in it? I may not want to release it. It can be a personalized movie for me. So those are the possibilities, sir. I think there is somebody called Anna there. I can take that question.
Yeah, that was a very interesting talk. I am only wondering, where is the end for all these? I am a small businessman, and for developing my business and beating the competition, I go to DeepSeek asking for ideas, giving as much prompts, and it will list out. Tomorrow, again, my competitor again goes to the same DeepSeek and asks for ideas. It will give even better or the same thing like this. How long or where is it going to end?
It's an arms race, yes. I wish I have a better answer, but I don't on this. It's a challenging world, yes.
May I ask a question, sir? This is Tavamani, retired
Yes,
scientist, project manager from Park, Baba Atom Research Center. See, this AI, how much can it be involved in scientific research as well as very important project management? Say, for example, suppose you just feed a project report, detailed project report. Can it plan for a project schedule? And then when we keep putting the inputs to that about the progress, can it suggest actually the remedial measures and other things?
Absolutely. Today, people are already using it. If you see the layoffs that has happened in
that means
yes, sir.
Level of Primavera or something, has it gone to a higher level?
Yeah, the usage has happened. Specific industry, I'm not aware. But I'll give you this example. Today, most of the layoffs that has happened in these large companies in the US, for example, Microsoft, Google, in the recent weeks, has been at the managerial level, where they are finding these models are able to replace managers when managers are not value adding beyond paper pushing or just connecting A to B, doing the mapping. I'll give you a practical example. A friend of mine runs an 100 people software service company in Chennai. And being a software service company, what do? We, as project managers or as business analysts, talk to various customer departments. For example, they are in a dairy factory, talking to how procurement to supply to logistics. They will interview all these people, assuming they are developing the software for them. And then they will write down whatever that each department says. How do you procure? How do you do logistics? How do you move, etc., marketing, etc. Then finally, this business analyst and project managers will consolidate all this into one single document, do a BRD, business requirement document, and give it. Now, what my friend's company, they've tried out is, of course, this is a very large project, simpler project, a website or a mobile project, take it that. When they are talking to their clients, they are using Zoom or Teams and recording these calls. And they are giving it to ChatGPT or Copilot in this case, asking it to transcribe and then giving the transcription back to them and say, can you generate a BRD from this? So without they doing anything, just by the customer talking in their interviews, giving their requirements, they are able to write a BRD. So he says, I've removed 2 or 3 of my business analysts in a 100 people company. See, about 2 or 3 people he's able to replace with these tools and able to do it faster. In a couple of hours, he's able to generate the BRD after finishing the interviews, which would have taken normally 1 month for them. So these are possible. These models can actually do this. But how do you train it for your industry? How do you prompt it for your industry? How do you supply your data? That's where I think the key difference will come.
But what about the scientific research side? Suppose we give the input of some experimental results, can it go further about the course of research conducted?
Yes, sir. Like the example, if you are interested, just go to YouTube and see the Google I/O keynote that Sundar Pichai did a couple of months. Just go to the later part of it. In one part, they talk about DeepMind CEO comes on stage and they talk about how do they use it to do scientific research with these models. He gives you 1 or 2 small examples. And that's where he also talks about the mathematical examples, solving some maths problems, how they are doing it with these models. Just see that 5 minutes clip in the Google I/O keynote. It's available on YouTube. And then if you're interested, you can drill down further. But
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Very informative. Nice. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Radha, please go on.
Yes, sir. Like, I would like to know how this notebook LM and chat GPT are different, because chat GPT, a lot of plagiarism, that is what we hear now. How good is notebook LM?
Okay, like I said, in the tool PDF I've given you tools that are effective, but these are changing. Most models are able to do what other models are doing. Like I said, unless there is a very specific requirement, stick to one of these tools. You like Gemini, stick to Gemini. You like Copilot, stick to it. You have already ChatGPT, stick to it. Or go for this Chat LLM where all these models are there. Now, Notebook LM is a research project for Google. It's not meant for serious productivity. It's good for me to do a demo here of this podcast or the mapping thing. But once it is proven here, Google will integrate those things into Gemini. So use it for experimenting, but otherwise stick to ChatGPT or any of this. It's not like ChatGPT is plagiarizing more than Gemini or nothing like that. Most of these models are equally good or equally bad as you see them. Yes, Abhay?
Yes, sir. Yeah, sir, actually, I've been using AI for the past 2 years. So I have stick with the Chat GPT mostly. So I have tried several other AI tools as well. So I feel I'm comfortable with Chat GPT. But the challenge I'm facing for the past 6 months, so I have to work a lot on AI actually. So it eases my work. So I'm putting on a lot into it. So while I'm working on a model, it happens that after a few hours, the version of the model gets reduced. So the thing is, it again resets after some 4 or 5 hours. But the thing is, when you are working on a big project, you cannot have that interruption of model version. So I got this plus version of this Chat GPT. So even then, I am facing still the same issues. And this next version is the pro version that is way too costlier for having it in use. So what can we do about this?
Okay, it's a real problem. I feel your problem. I have got the plus, but I've got Chat LLM, I've got Copilot, so I kind of distribute my work across all of them. But better is to stick to one of them. But you will face this problem. Like I said, they have spent like $100 billion or whatever. They have to recoup it. So these prices are only going to keep going up. Or you have to run these models locally, for which you need to have a very powerful. Some of these models, not the Chat GPTs, but Google has got a model called Gemma. Microsoft has got something that is Phi, which you can run on your local machine. There is a tool called Misty, MSTY, which is a small application which you can run on your own machine, but you need to have fairly powerful PC with good GPU card on that. If you do have it, then you can run Misty and these models, not the bigger ones, but Gemma, Phi, or Llama on your local machine, where you won't have this restriction. You can keep using it as long as you want, but the model's capability are a little less. Most often, we kind of tend to use the most complex model for simplest possibility. We don't need to. So in ChatGPT, if you see, if you're able to stick to most often the ChatGPT 4.0, you can use it as often as you want. But you start going through O3 model or go to the 4.1, 4.5, the latest models, then the tokens will get over and you will have this problem. So normally just stick to 4.0. If your usage is extremely high, you have to run it locally, or you have to keep going to something called these Chat LLM that I showed you. They have a $10 model, but they do have a incremental thing. You can keep topping up. So you don't need to go all the way to $200. That's a possibility. You can explore Chat LLM from Abacus AI. There are other possibilities, but that's one company who give this various models. So their limits are more than what ChatGPT allows.
Yes, sir. Actually, right now I'm doing like that only. I'm using this other AI tools. While this get over, this till the time reset.
But
So I'm using
the training
Meta
that
and
you would have done,
Gemini
you won't
and
be able to carry forward that. That will be a problem for you.
yes, yes, yes. So meanwhile, I'm just putting the work on another tool. That's
Correct.
all.
Try out Chat LLM or similar things.
Yes,
But if
yes.
you're just using these for summarizing, rewriting, simple tasks, then you can try Misty in your local machine, but you need to have fairly a good machine with good GPU.
Yes, 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 I understand. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Gopi, I think we are done.
So Yashwant here.
Yes.
Well, actually, there was just a breaking news saying that India is now the fourth largest economy by GDP.
Okay.
Well, but looking at the amount of productivity boost which can be enhanced with AI, I wonder whether services sector will grow or it will shrink in terms of AI. Of course, there will be productivity growth, but the business prospects and this would be a challenge. So that is one of the sort of things which is bothering, I guess, even
Like
the
the earlier
investors.
gentleman was asking, my competition also has access to the same tools. Your competing countries will also have access to same tools. So how do we differentiate?
Exactly, and even some of the sort of scholastic sort of articles say that we may not require scientists to do fundamental science breakthroughs and all. I don't know to what extent it is true, but it is a bit scareful.
See,
Scary.
I am optimistic on that. I think it's a very big problem. I don't have a answer for you, but I'm pretty optimistic that the problems we'll try solving will become more complex. Like today, 25 years back, people said once you sequence DNA, there's nothing. But now we are able to go on editing DNA, solving illness. We have gone to the next level. So I think once we are solving these problems with these AI tools or any other AI tools and other technologies coming, we'll go on to the next challenge. Till we finally found out why the universe is created, is there a God, not, till the final questions, I think there will be enough problems for us to keep solving as a society. I'm pretty optimistic on that front. For business, I'm equally on the same boat as you. How things like in the AI tool can do this talk, it doesn't need me, or AI can consult for companies, they don't need me. That's a real problem I'm facing, like you. Yes.
Very true. I remain optimistic, sir. But there was a news recently that in China they have opened a sort of hospital which is 100% run by AI chatbots and other such tools. I'm not sure whether it's true, but if that just gives us an insight into what possibilities remain and how it can sort of bring good quality healthcare to the rural masses and all.
So far, humans and technology goes, I think the roadmap is pretty positive. This, if you're interested in this more, read this book called Coming Wave by Mustafa Sulaiman. Coming Wave, wave as in wave, W-A-V-E.
Right, sir. Yeah, I heard of
Mustafa
that.
Sulaiman is Microsoft AI CEO. He has thought on this problem. The entire book is about where it is going. The coming wave, as you can guess, is what is coming beyond this, is what he's imagined. So he is the authority on the subject. So check out his book.
Yeah. Thank you for the excellent session today, sir. I would remain in touch with you for the other issues on engineering, what we discussed. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Yes.
Venkatarangan. This is Ravindranath here.
Yes.
Actually, I worked for Larsen & Toubro, of course, more on the oil and gas hydrocarbon business. So we have seen the kind of a chain of events that have happened in the last 3-4 decades of looking at a very, very low level when we didn't even have the desktop computers properly in our office, and then we moved. Because L&T has moved along with Wave, and then every time we are ahead of the times. And what I liked, of course, your session was excellent. I mean, you must say very, very informative. And that's why I can see the kind of response and the questions you have been getting. What I liked was Satya Nadella, when he visited India sometime back, somebody asked a question with AI, will it replace the people? I mean, many people will lose the jobs. He said, actually, AI will not replace the people, but the people will replace with the people who know AI better than the other one. So obviously, I think you explained so well how to use this with your own innovative thinking and innovative solutions. I mean, you can't, like one good example of Shekhar Kapoor, that's a good example. People are very excited about it, and then you are an example yourself to have shown how you are using this. I mean, absolutely to your delightful conclusions and then also solutions. So what I just only one or two questions, like what do you think about the fact people, many, I mean, now I retired, so I don't need really the paid version to go higher level, but simple things like to, as you said rightly, I just draft a note about something to tell somebody and then put it, that the free version is good enough, or what do you think? I mean, we should also get into the pay version of this ChatGPT.
If you're not like the other gentleman who was even exhausting the paid version, if you're not hitting the limits, it's fine. Be in the free version.
Okay. There's no need for anything. But I just wrote a letter to the DSR chief, and of course, she was in Karaikuri, head of the department. Now she is the R&D chief in Delhi. I want to tell her that so much of things are going on in the electrolyzer and the battery business. Electrochemical Research Institute, Karaikuri, is one of the best well-known. For ages it's been there. I said, why don't you sort of lead the whole country in that mode? But then she shifted DJSR. So I drafted a nice letter and then put it in the free version. It's really sort of paraphrased and then made it very beautiful.
Correct. See, a lot of people today are doing the email thing is effective. They are saying they are writing a one-line summary of it, asking these tools and putting it first. Because today people don't read the full text if you don't give a summary on top.
Okay.
Like in WhatsApp, we don't open a video unless somebody says, watch this video for this.
Yeah, finally, actually, I've used my own text, actually, a lot of it, but then it's added and then rephrased. I put my own subject and then give the title and everything nicely and then send it to her. But what I noticed was that actually very quickly just put it across. Similarly, I'm just giving the example to the people who may not be using as much as the professional guys whom they've talked to so far, to you. And for example, I have just wanted about my boss when he's sort of his 80th birthday, MD of Larsen & Toubro. I've been invited to talk. I gave all his characteristics, what I felt about him, what I want to write. And then I said, I want to write a poem about that using these characteristics.
You can even generate a song and give. In one of my earlier talks, Dr. Vinayak, he was quoting a very interesting example. He fired somebody in his hospital and the person wrote an email to him the next day, well-drafted email thanking doctor, is the experience working with the office and all that. He was stunned by the English and the language and the letter. He called this person and said, how did you learn to write this well? And he said, I used ChatGPT. Doctor was stunned and said, this is about a year back probably. So he demoed to doctor how he used ChatGPT to draft this email. So doctor was so impressed, he gave him the job back and said, now train all the staff in this office on how to use ChatGPT. So the guy who lost his job got back his job because of ChatGPT. I know this may be an exception, but this is also a possibility.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And then nice knowing you. And I also put a small note there. When your book is released, please inform Mr. Gopi. And
definitely.
Tell us, and then we'll access our mind to Amazon or wherever it is going to be there. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Fowler? One last question, Ms. Fowler.
Yes.
Ms. Fowler, you're around? Okay, I think we're done. Sir. So anyway, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Venkatarangan. Thanks for taking your time out on a Sunday morning to be with us. Hope you enjoyed the session too.
Very much. I enjoyed the questions. That's how I learn and I can improve the talks. Thank you so much.